This episode is brought to you by Prime Video. In the small town of Holland, Michigan, nothing is ever what it seems. Behind the tulip festivals and pretty houses lay dark secrets that threaten to tear a marriage apart. Nicole Kidman stars in this darkly twisted thriller about a wife and mother whose quest to uncover her husband's secrets may get her more than she bargained for. Holland, streaming on Prime Video March 27th.
Last week was our first playoff game, and my plaque psoriasis was so itchy under all my gear. Sometimes just thinking about scratching could take me out of the moment. And then my doctor told me I could get clearer skin with a pill called Otezla.
Otezla apremilast is a prescription medicine used to treat adult patients with plaque psoriasis for whom phototherapy or systemic therapy is appropriate. Otezla can help you get clearer skin after just 4 months.
Okay, ready for the next game. Talking to my doctor about a pill was a total game changer.
Don't use Otezla if you're allergic to it. Get medical help right away if you have trouble breathing or swallowing, swelling of the face, lips, tongue, throat, or arms. Severe diarrhea, nausea or vomiting, depression, suicidal thoughts, or weight loss can happen. Tell your doctor if any of these occur and if you have a history of depression or suicidal thoughts. Live in the moment. Ask your doctor about Otezla. Call 1-844-4-OTEZLA or visit Otezla.com for prescribing info about cost, and more.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. It's tax season, and we're all a bit tired of numbers. But here's one you need to hear. $16.5 billion. That's how much the IRS flagged for possible identity fraud last year. Now here's a good number. 100 million. That's how many data points LifeLock monitors every second. If your identity is stolen, they'll fix it. Guaranteed. Save up to 40% your first year at LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
You're listening to the Animation Addicts Podcast with the Rotoscopers. Episode 302. Despicable Me 4. You don't own names. Welcome to the Animation Addicts Podcast with the Rotoscopers, the #1 place to get your animation fix with animation addicts just like you. Each episode, we dive into the wonderful world of animation featuring Disney, DreamWorks, Pixar, and everything in between. From hilarious discussions and movie reviews to interviews with industry insiders, this show's mission is to brighten your day through our love of animation. So hop on your nerdy couch, grab some snacks, and get ready to hang out with your animation besties because it's time to dive into today's episode.
All right, so we just got out of Despicable Me 4.
Welcome to the Animation Addicts Podcast. My name is Chelsea Robson.
And I'm Morgan Stradling.
And yes, we did just get out of Despicable Me 4. Even though it is number 4 of the Despicable Me's, this is number 6 of the whatever franchise this plans to be.
Yes, Despicable Me / Minions franchise. I don't know what it's called. The Despicable franchise, yes?
Yes.
Nope.
Yeah, we'll throw that in there.
I'm assuming it's 6, unless there's one that I just suddenly missed and forgot about, but it's 6.
And it's auxiliaries. How about that?
Yes, indeed.
Will you be tonight? That's the question. Will group be tonight? That's the question. Will you be tonight? That's the question. Will group be tonight? That's the question.
Okay, so this movie, it basically starts out. You have Gru, who has been invited. He's driving in this nice fast car that looks basically like the Batmobile, but silver. And he's driving up this mountain range, and then he finally gets to this really cool castle that looks like it's one of those in Transylvania kind of things. And he is visiting his alma mater of villainy, and he tells the minions who follow up in kind of a clown car version of his car, and he says, "Hey guys, let's get your act together." And he's like, "Oh yes, because my arch nemesis is going to be here tonight." And he's kind of a jerk. So they go in and they end up meeting his arch nemesis. His arch nemesis introduces him to his wife or partner, and who happened to be the most popular girl in school. Of course, his arch nemesis was French. So that definitely was fun.
Yes, I loved it. Unlike in Inside Out 2, I felt like this one worked it just was funny to me having the French accent. With the other one, maybe I was overanalyzing. I just felt like the other one was forced. They really just wanted a French accent in there, which is fine. It was funny, but
I mean,
this
it was
one,
Will Ferrell
it was
in
Will
this one.
Ferrell, and him doing it. Just that's the thing with these comedians is they are funny and they do these accents and they just are clowning around.
Yeah.
And so, I'm going to be this French guy, and it's going to be funny, and you're going to love it.
Well, what was good about this one is I felt like he was really well done in the fact that I knew that Will Ferrell was in this movie. But even when he was doing it, like, because of his French accent, because of all of these things, I was like, which one is he? And like, he's literally like the second character you talk to in this, but because he was so into the role that he was playing, I'm not going to say he's playing a great Frenchman. I'm just saying he was into the role of whatever character he created that I couldn't even tell that it was him. There were only moments at the very end where I was like, okay, yeah, I see that's Will Ferrell.
Yeah,
but
I didn't know that he was in it. And you mentioned, halfway into it or a third into it, like he's Will Ferrell. And I still couldn't really hear it.
Yeah.
I was listening and I was trying, and like you said, the accent masks it a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just playing so different than what he normally is that it's hard to pick up on. He's great. And unfortunately, we are in a parking garage underground. And so I can't pull up Wikipedia or anything to get the characters' names. La Cucaracha, as I'm going to call him, even though he's not Spanish or Mexican. I don't know how to
the cockroach.
I don't know how to say the cockroach in French.
Oh, but here's the thing. Like, he pulls out he's on the stage. He gets nominated as the student of the year, like the returning student of the year by the principal. And he pulls out his little cockroach. You all made fun of me for handling all my cockroaches. And I just got so grossed out. You see, I just had to clean out my basement. And it was like, there was definitely a giant cockroach like shell in there that I had to clean up. And I just in my mind, I just saw that moment and I was like, oh, so gross.
It's an interesting concept for a villain because here's the thing is he's like this nerdy guy, right? And he was into the cockroaches, which are such a gross thing as is. And then it becomes like he figures out how to turn himself into a cockroach and has this cockroach ray and turn other people. And then he has like the minion equivalent of cockroaches. And it is so skin crawling gross.
It really is.
I mean, I am not afraid of bugs. I'm not afraid of snakes. Like, things don't scare me. I'm not afraid of insects. Like, whatever, smash it. A bee lands on your shoulder. Oh, bees are friends. That's what I tell my kids. Bees are friends.
Yeah, I have many stories of Morgan at girls' camp growing up, being the only brave one in the cabin who was willing to go and search
Smash
out
the bug or eat the
bug,
bug.
the mice. She was all about
eating the bug for Survivor to prove to the world, like, I'm gonna be on Survivor.
You still want to be eating the bugs, Morgan?
Of course, $20 million. Why wouldn't you? Come on. But yeah, it's gross. It's so gross. It grossed me out just thinking about it. Like, ugh. I don't know what it is about the cockroach. Maybe just such a filthy sewer bug and just the way it's like transparent, the way that it moves, and
everything about it.
Let's stop.
Yes,
let's move on to something else.
So the next scene, right? Well, I do think that they did a good job of making him very not menacing necessarily, but a good foe to Gru at the very beginning. So right before they get to the point where they go to the house, they are still at the castle, and he has grown all these extra arms, and they're very sharp. And so there's a couple times where he comes at Gru and he slices, and it ends up like slicing his cheek and cutting off this like trophy that he was holding. And so Gru is staring at it as they pull him away, and he's like, "That's kind of horrifying."
Yeah,
and I think they did a good job of showing why he would be afraid of him.
Yeah,
and then cut to he's got a family now. He's a family man, and so he's.
I mean, he's been a family man since the first film, but
but not since high school. So
yes, he's a family plus a baby.
Yeah, and you bring back his wife and Lucy, and then we also look at all Margot and Edith,
Margot and Agnes,
and so you have all of them, and then all of a sudden, hey, look, it's a bumbling baby boy,
bouncing baby boy,
and he was a very cute kid.
Yes,
they did a good job with that one.
I mean, the Incredibles comparisons, I definitely felt I noticed right away. And it wasn't like I was trying to, but when you have like the cute, not that he's a super baby, but he's the opposite. He's the villain baby, you know?
Yeah.
And then at the end, the baby gets stolen by the nemesis because that
turns into,
and then he, you know, has some powers that, you know, so I thought that, and he's just such like a cute design, like very similarly designed babies with the, you know, basically bald with a little curl on the head. Yeah. You know, kind of being a little stinker, sinister, he knows too much sort of thing, you know, where he's in the backseat of the car and he's popping the balloons, you know, secretly and surreptitiously, if you will. And he's really just being a stinker to Gru as they're doing that. And that's definitely Jack Jack's. But I didn't mind that. And, you know, at this point with how many movies are made, there will be always comparisons to other things, but it was totally its own movie.
One thing, but I did find funny about this one is anytime they could, they put an homage to another movie. You had The Shining in there. You had all of these other movies, the Chitty Chitty Bang Bang Car, like so many different references that I can't even bring them up at the moment just because when you're in these screenings, you don't write things down. And so it's hard.
You can.
Yeah.
I typically don't because I just end up getting into the movie where
I like being able to like feel it.
Like, you like to feel the movie.
I feel the end of the movie.
Feel the vibes.
I feel it. I get to the end of a movie and I'm like, how do I feel about this? Like, where does this feel as far as like a rating?
And you feel like as when you're reviewing a movie, because, you know, we have to go and write a review after this or record a review, whatever. And there's so many things that you're paying attention for.
Yes.
Whereas if you were just a regular moviegoer, you wouldn't necessarily be going in like as critical or as perceptive to things or on guard.
Right. And you're not looking for loose ends to tie up. You're not looking for all the things if you're just like, I'm just here.
Not that we're there to criticize or like we're going to pinpoint every little thing, but, you know, because you have a job that you have to, you know, write a review, you got to have stuff to fill the review. You can't just be like, it was great. It was good.
Right. And we've trained ourselves to look for these things because of the podcast and because of this, you know, this side gig that we have put ourselves through. And so I feel like as a normal moviegoer, you're definitely just going to kind of ingest it as a like, well, this is fun. And it is. The whole movie I felt like was very just fun. There were a couple moments that I felt were kind of slow. And I think that one problem that this movie had was that there were too many characters and too many side treks.
Yeah. So let's talk about, let's mention each one of those and break them down. So the first one is you have the main family. So you have Gru, Lucy, and the girls. I can never do it as good as he does. The girls. That's like the bears.
The bears.
The girls. That's going to be our version of it.
Yeah.
If you have the best of Will Ferrell on SNL, you know. Is it or is it Chris Farley?
It's
definitely Chris Farley.
No, it's
both.
No, it's what's his name? Who was the husband on Roseanne?
Oh, John Goodman.
Yeah, it's John Goodman on there.
That's him, but I'm wondering which best of DVD it was on. I think it was Chris Farley. Anyways,
probably
tangent time. Anyway, okay. So we have Gru, Lucy, and
the girls.
The girls.
And the baby.
Yes. So we have their storyline, and they go into basically the witness protection for villains.
Moving to Mayflower.
Yes. So we have that. Then we have the secondary minions, which I appreciated that the minions are so much, and they smartly just handpick a few minions to stick around. So there are 3 minions that stick around with Gru.
New names every time.
Then we have the minions who basically get recruited to do this other special,
the
gig.
Mega Minions.
They become, no. First they become part of like secret agents, and they're undergoing training, and then 5 of them are selected to become the Mega Minions. So then that becomes its own storyline that shoots off from there, right?
Right.
So we will get to that. And then we have the villain and his girlfriend, La Cucaracha, because again, I can't Google here in the abyss underground. And then we also have the Poppy, the neighbor girl, who wants to be a villain.
That was a weird side thing.
Yeah, we'll talk about that one. And then maybe her parents.
The parents also weird.
I mean, they're never their own plot line on their own. It's always as a conduit for Gru.
And then the girls, as they go to their karate,
Yeah.
and that
Yeah.
wasn't really like
I think
tied
that was
up.
just more development of, hey, we're in this new place.
Yeah.
And
then mom, as she goes to be a hairstylist.
right.
So it's like all of these are like, obviously
But they're
falling.
dropped super quickly.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about Gru and like moving to this new place. They moved to this new city and it's like super posh. You know, you think Beverly Hills, these big city. It's on the beach. Beverly Hills, big mansions,
Malibu
big yards.
kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't know if it's East Coast or West Coast. It's not clear, and that's
Mhm.
fine. Obviously, I don't know if this is an imaginary place, so whatever. But there's like East Coast vibes and West Coast vibes.
Right.
This was very like country club, so maybe a little bit more East Coast, but
probably
then,
more East Coast
yeah.
because you had the Southern girl.
yeah, these are the things that are unimportant in the grand
Yeah.
scheme of things.
But
anyway,
But she would definitely be more
she's
of an
like
East Coast
she's
thing.
like the Southern belle who married into the
Right.
family or whatnot. So, okay, so they're in this new place and they have new identities, and I think to fill time basically and to really introduce us to the people, because we have to introduce Gru and family basically to Poppy, who is the redheaded girl. And
Yeah.
I thought she was so funny. 'Cause
I
she
did
has-
like how
she
they
has
introduced her
braces.
in there
Yeah, she is just a total brat, a snob. She's on her phone. She's ignoring.
with a
but
lisp.
you can tell she has this lisp. It's great.
Yeah.
She's so funny. I loved her design a lot.
Yeah.
You just think that she's just total snob, but then she's aware. From the very beginning, you say she's paying attention to things,
Mm-hmm.
especially when they're slipping up on
Does she
Gru's
want-
name.
Because she wants to be a
Turns
villain.
out she wants to be a supervillain, and she wants to go specifically to the supervillain school
Mhm.
that he went to.
Hogwarts for villains.
Yes.
It's basically Slytherin house.
Yes. And then, so, to kind of really sell this, that they're kind of fish out of water, they're not really acclimating too great to this. They have Lucy they just throw her into being a hairstylist. Which,
Yeah.
why would you give someone a job that they're not competent at? Like,
Right.
yeah. So, and then she obviously fries someone's hair, literally. And it's
Oh,
so funny.
gosh.
I loved that lady who walks in
Yes.
because she's the epitome of fillers gone bad. And they know that.
Oh, yes.
I just thought it was funny because I'm hyper
Right.
aware of filler and I can like spot it a mile away.
Yes.
You can see the filler puff. And this was like a direct, like, I don't know if it was like, we're going to do a character with filler. They're going to do like the over plastic surgery look.
The rich lady who's
The
overdone.
rich lady who keeps doing too much.
Yes.
Not tasteful.
And wants to have now a red hair
Oh,
thing with
odd, very odd, but it was funny because she throws this cream on, she's trying to bleach the hair and then, dye it pink, which I'm like, that's not how you do this. You go blonde, you blonde everything and bleach everything first, then you add the color
This
once
is
you've
like,
bleached
yes.
it, because the lady had black hair.
Right, right. These are things that when you've done it enough,
Yes, this is not the way. And so obviously she botches it terribly, and literally it's so funny because pieces fly
Oh my
off.
gosh. And
of
the
her
thing
head.
is, like, you've seen
I was
videos of
just
those
so
things
cringe.
on YouTube or anywhere where they just like pass by and you're like, no.
So it did a really good job
Yeah.
of selling. She's terrible at this and has already she quits on day one basically, and that's through. We have the girls who they go.
I really think they only put the supermarket scene in there
Mm-hmm.
because they wanted to turn her into the Terminator running after them in the back.
Oh,
Like, there's just so
Is
many
that
of
the
these
reference?
moments. Yes.
because I was watching her, I was like, wow, she's still chasing them, and she's still chasing them. How long is she going to chase them? And interesting that I actually have never seen the Terminator, and I really want to.
No, you should.
So
Yeah.
it's on my list of like
I was
old school movies
I
to
have
watch.
older brothers, and
Mhm.
so they would always watch random things, and then I would get stuck watching them because they were there, and I had major FOMO as a kid, and then afterwards, I was like, I have major regrets. I should not have watched this. I'm like 5 years old, right?
Oh, no.
And now I'm like, I regret life.
That's
I
what
regret-
happens when you're number six,
Well,
right?
yeah, I was number 6 in the family of 6, and yes, and the older brothers are like, no, we watch what we want to watch, of course.
we're not-
Okay.
Not gonna.
Anyway.
Yes. Anyways.
Trauma.
So, and then we have the girls, and they go to a karate class. It's really just to show that the one girl is very defiant with having to lie about everything, but then nothing's resolved after
Yeah,
that point.
that was
The
what was-
girls have no resolution or inner conflict that they have to resolve. It's just like, oh, they don't want to lie. The one doesn't want to lie. The other one clearly has no problem with it, and it seems like it's to fill time.
Yes.
It's just to fill time for the inevitable. I didn't feel like it was necessary, so that's that.
Yeah, that was the thing that I was actually bugged about, because you've made a big deal about the fact that she's not going to lie about her age or her name. And yet
there's no lesson, there's no payoff for
Right.
her.
like, why are you spending this much time on this? And it's like, they could have just skipped that whole section.
They could have just made all three of them like, yep, fine, that's our new name, and they move on. Yeah, it really wasn't needed. I don't think that the focus on the girls needed to happen at all, because, okay, so Margot goes to junior high,
Which
Margot,
adding
aka Bree.
different names in this was actually harder for me too, because even though I've seen them in the first one recently, and I've so it's like their names are in my head. It's just changing their name and then also adding more people. Is hard for me.
I never would have expected her to be in junior high at all.
Yeah,
I feel like she's a fifth grader. But I feel like they just forced this so that way they could have the interaction with the other girl who's way taller and like seems like a teenager, like a junior high girl. It just was kind of this inevitable. We want the young girl her and Gru to team up. Okay, but we can't have this happen too soon. And I don't know why they couldn't.
The rest of the girls in there, so we need to somehow.
I'm sorry, they should have just like shunned the girls, not shunned the girls, but just the girls could be yada yada. I don't think they were needed, and maybe they could have done a mini heist, like a little test heist with the girl, like introduce her really quick to Gru, do a little test heist, and then say, okay, now I want to do the big heist.
Yeah, and I think that they should have, I don't know, there could have been, okay, we're going to send mom and girls on a little vacation. And just get them out of the story entirely, almost.
Yes, this is the 4 problem. This Toy Story, they do this. And either you could do it well, but you're probably always going to disappoint someone. You're either going to have too many characters that it just falls flat, kind of like this.
Right.
Certain characters and their storylines, they're just too much to do. You're trying your best to include everyone. Or you're going to do the Toy Story 4 thing where, yes,
you're adding a new character and then shunning the rest.
A million new characters.
Yeah.
You're bringing back Bo Peep. You're bringing Gabby and, her folks.
Right.
And then,
Forky.
Jesse and Buzz are kind of around, but really they're just hanging out in the RV.
Right.
So that's kind of what this was. It's like the girls were kind of hanging out in the RV.
Yeah.
We checked off the box. You see them. So there's them.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can find options that fit your budget and potentially lower your bills. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
We'll talk about Poppy. Should we talk about Poppy?
Yeah, just
before we talk
about
about the minions? I liked Poppy a lot. I thought it was really funny. They named her Poppy, and they're like, yeah, we know DreamWorks has a main character named Poppy. Don't care. We like the name Poppy. I was like, that's how it goes. If someone else has a baby name that you like, who cares? You name your baby that name, okay? They don't own the name. I don't care.
I saw a random reel on Instagram where she was going through and name, like, because a lot of people, they have like really weird names these days. And so she's like, these are my names. Don't steal them. Don't steal them. I'm just like,
seriously,
oh my
gosh. You don't own names, people. That's our title.
Yes.
So I liked her. I thought it was great to see this young villain, aspiring villain. She wants to go to the school. She has this big plan on what she's going to do. And she needs Gru. Either she's so perceptive that she knows that this is basically like not a halfway house, but a secret. It's not Secret Service. What is this? The witness protection house for villains. Like, she either knows this is a thing, and so she's like, okay, I just need them to mess up so I can get his name and I can Google him.
Well, because she was looking at different things online, and so it's like, I don't know, is this like a TikTok for villains? I don't know.
No. Once she got his name, she was able to Google him.
Oh, okay.
And then see.
That's right. Yeah, because Margot did say, okay, bye, Gru.
Yeah.
Okay.
So once that happened, she was able to unlock his history, because he still exists as a villain. And
I think they should have just been like, she just knows, because she's that into villains, and so she follows these things.
I didn't mind the way that they did it though, but they could have done that too. It just showed that she was pretty cunning and aware. And so then she blackmails him, which is fine. Like, oh, I'm going to reveal who you are. And then she has this plan, and I love it because they go on this heist, and the heist was so fun because it shows Gru in his element. Like, I really like Gru being a villain.
Yeah.
He's
hard to have him as the
good guy dad. Like, I've changed my ways.
Mhm.
So having him go back to being, doing deceitful things and going on this heist, and then they get the wrong bag, and then he has to be resourceful with everything. It was really fun, and probably my favorite part of the film.
I liked it after we actually got there. It was okay, now we're getting into the hot air balloon and going over here. And it was right after that section where they're in the market. And that was the thing. I feel like the music was not good in this movie. I felt like, yes, they had a couple of different songs in there that were, okay, that's not fine. But overall, the score, I just felt like the score was unimaginative and just kind of generic, but also not something that was very movement. There wasn't a lot of movement in these high energy scenes where she's being chased, and it just felt like there needs to be a lot more push and a lot more. It needs to be louder or something, because I didn't feel any movement, and it just felt kind of boring.
Yeah,
like there were just so it went from that scene right into this one, where now they're flying away, and it just felt like continuation of a kind of boring score that didn't really make it flow. And so I felt like that one was a miss.
Can I just say, this is the worst villain school ever. If you can just float up to it on a balloon and there's no guards or booby traps or security cameras. Like, no security cameras. They just
inside they had like a couple old school cameras.
So, I mean, what are you going to nitpick at this point in time? Like, they needed to get there, and the balloon floated away. So, accept it. Okay. We're on our 6th movie. Okay.
It was weird that they had her dad being just this, like, I own the biggest car dealership in the whole area. And it's like, okay.
One thing I really loved was the character designs. What I like about this franchise is that the character designs are so exaggerated. There's very much caricatures. Like we talked about the, filler lady, the dad.
That is a good description. Is almost all of them are caricatures.
Because did you see on the balloon, it was like their balloon for the dealership, and it was a caricature of him that was even more pushed.
Yes.
And very cartoony, felt like very 1940, 50, 60 sort of thing.
Yes.
And I just loved it. I'm like, I love that they just push it. It's so cartoony. It's so out there. For example, the La Cucaracha, again, I don't remember his name. I can't Google. He had this super puffy coat at one point, and it was like green.
He starts it out in that, and he comes back to it to the end.
It's because he has all these arms, and he has to hide them, and it's just so obnoxious, but so fun.
Yes.
Just the designs in this movie are really fun. It's a lot of eye candy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, once they actually got to the honey badger, I felt like things got funny.
Yeah.
Hilarity ensues when all of these things happen, and you have the minions following up behind. And I felt like it really picked up after that, and I wasn't as tired, because up until that point, like I said, like right there.
Like, where are we going with this?
Yeah, it was like I had the thought, why are there so many plot lines happening? What is going on?
Especially considering you think it's about this villain, but the villain is barely there. He pops in and he's out. He pops in and he's out. And it's really because he's trying to get from point A to point B. He just needs to figure out where they are. And in the meantime, because Gru hasn't revealed himself at the school, and then the principal's not going to call and reveal his location, he's not needed. He's not a great villain in the fact that he's the one figuring it out and truly a rival to Gru.
Right.
He just kind of, the information plops in his lap, and then he appears at the end for the big bad fight,
Right. Yeah.
Which makes him kind of a weak villain and could have been stronger. I don't think we needed the principal as this intermediary. It should have been him the whole time figuring it out. Maybe, I mean, not his layer, but like him somehow being there or involved or something.
Okay. Yeah. Going into his lair though, and you had all the cockroaches, and like basically being his minions are the cockroaches, and they're all like, "Oh, I love you," and everything. And it's just like, that's so gross.
It's super gross. Yep. Didn't like it. Nope.
I don't like it.
What else do we have? So let's talk about the minions. Speaking of them. the minions were funny. They're always funny.
Always.
They're funny in small groups. They're funny in big groups. The minions are minions. They probably snap and slap each other's butts.
Yes, they did quite a few times.
What I love about the minions,
the vending machine minion, and
it doesn't seem like there's a hierarchy to the minions.
Yeah,
they all just love each other, and they're like big. They're all brothers,
right?
And they all hate on each other, or not hate on each other, but they really just tease each other and poke fun at each other. And it doesn't matter who you are. There's no, like I said, hierarchy, except when it comes to these other minions that become the mega minions. And it's not like they are revered. They're now on another level. It's like, oh, this is their job now. And yay, we're going to cheer for them as if it were anyone.
Yes.
Which was funny.
So when they're coming out with the mega minions, I feel like the creators of this scene, when they're actually going out and being superheroes, like they're clearly a mixture of X-Men and the Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
And they're also, and Conehead in there, so
why not?
Because why not?
And 90s were great.
Yeah, right. So they have them coming out there, and they're doing even like the scene from Spider-Man where he's with the train.
Yeah.
Like you have all these moments where they're trying to recreate from all these these superhero films, and then you have a moment where somebody's like, "I'm tired of superheroes," like,
which was so on the nose.
It is, and so I'm just like. This is a feeling that many people have.
Yes. I didn't like the Mega Minions. They were weird.
There wasn't like a point. And then at the end,
there was no point. Other than to just like at the end.
Yeah. And they
kind of save the day.
Go on retirement. And it's like they all go their own separate ways, which is kind of like a gathering of Ocean's 11.
Yes.
Like it just has, there's a lot of those feelings where they're trying to go off of all these other movies. And so they're coming in, bringing everybody in and trying to get the La Cucaracha at the very end. And it was a lot. And it just felt like it could have been really played more succinctly. And we just did number 1. And so if you go back to episode 301 of the Animation Addicts Podcast, rotoscopers.com/301, you'll be able to listen to that. And it is... like that movie was so succinct. It was so planned and every loose end was tied up. And this one, it was missing.
Yeah.
There were a lot of loose ends.
There was just a lot they were trying to do. It's like at this point, you've done 2 Minions movies. And so the Minions are their own thing now, so, and then Gru and his storyline and Lucy, there's just a lot. And we could have cut a few of them and really streamlined the girls and Lucy's plot. I mean, I know Lucy was important from the 3rd movie, but again, it's Gru who's really the main guy.
Right.
And she didn't do anything. Like she was, former villain in a way.
She was just mom. And I mean, obviously mom is wonderful.
Yeah, there's
but
like a few times where she was the worker and he was like the stay-at-home dad.
Right.
But then she just kind of doesn't do anything remarkable like as a pair to him, Yeah. But he really, other than the heist, doesn't do very many villainy things either. So I think
what they should have done is instead of them going into hiding, they should have had him be sent off to do another something and then somehow meet Poppy or, and I feel like, and then he could have called home, in the same way that in Incredibles 2, they had it like that, but I just feel like no, they should have just had. They should have just had Gru go out and then call home. And
Mega Minions cut.
There were a lot of parts that I was like, "There's just so many," but I feel like
but they know the Minions sell. They know people love the Minions, and so even though I didn't appreciate
plushies,
yes, I
Minion
don't.
Plushies.
Oh, now you can buy different. You can buy the rock looking plushie, and you can buy the stretchy plushie. Yeah, I mean, there's so many opportunities here,
right?
Even though I didn't love the Mega Minions, kids loved the Mega Minions. People were laughing. The Minions are hilarious. But
shout out to the guy behind us who was cackling at our
gosh, like blow you out of your seat with his laugh, so like frightening and shocking. Yeah, I think regular Minions are still funny to this day when they talk in their made up language.
Yeah,
when they're silly to each other, when they goof off, when they tease one another, when one gets stuck in a vending machine for the whole movie and it's a running gag, it's funny.
Yes.
When they were these stupid superheroes, they weren't as funny to me as the three regular minions hanging out in the house.
And even just like looking back at them at AVL headquarters, they were just funny. You had funny little things happening and just they're all doing their own thing.
Yeah.
So I don't feel like you needed that section. I just know that that's what they wanted to do. They wanted to bring an homage to all these other movies that were coming in.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know, there's
when
a
you
point...
do that, you kind of date yourself and you really are...
Yeah.
It's like the Wish thing. Like our number one priority is that we want as many references
Easter
eggs.
But did you catch the Easter egg? But did you see the Easter egg? The movie kind of sucked, but did you see the Easter eggs?
I mean, this one isn't as bad.
No.
But it's there. It's obvious that this is what they wanted to play off of, like superhero minions. So one thing I really liked at the end, Eva Longoria's character. Wait, Eva Longoria?
No.
No. Sofia Vergara. She was funny. She's just a funny girl.
She had a weird part.
Yeah, she's just kind of the Cucaracha's girlfriend.
Yeah, it was kind of flat character, and it's like I really
again, talking about voice acting, it was like, okay, you have a very distinctive voice, but any voice actor could have achieved this for sure and saved you a lot more money.
There's no reason for you to specifically to be here other than like they wanted her.
You. Yes.
Yeah, but it's just even the character itself didn't need to be her.
Right.
So you have those moments where it's like you could have cut down on the budget there, even though I'm sure the budget wasn't that big because they are doing a good
great
job
with their budget. Yes, consistently their films.
So why not pay her? Go ahead, bring her in.
I have an interview coming up, and we discussed, actually Despicable Me series and Illumination with Darrell Larson, who's an animation historian, has a new book out. So subscribe, get ready for that because it's a really fun interview. And he mentions, and I looked this up recently because we'd been doing Despicable Me. I mean, they are consistently, even their lowest performing film is 800 million, to $1 billion plus.
Right.
So with their minimal budgets, minimal in quotes, meaning, the 60, 70 million.
Under 100.
Yeah, they're still killing it. And that's the thing with this franchise is that they have this cash cow and they milk it. They know how to milk it. And there's no reason, like, okay, you're on your 6th film. Who cares? We have a cash cow that's delivering milk still. It's plentiful.
Right.
It's fruitful. It's a good cow. Keep going.
Keep feeding her.
Yeah. So, and that's what they're doing. And the thing is, the film is not, it's not like the Toy Story series where 1 was good, 2 was so good, 3 was, oh my gosh, the meme of the guy who's just like becoming enlightened every step of the way. Each one of these films are good.
Yeah.
They're fine. They're not like, oh my gosh, we got to see another Despicable Me. It's like, okay, this will be a fun family film.
And it was a fun family film. I felt like it was definitely something like your kids will enjoy. I felt like my nieces and nephews will probably really enjoy it. I enjoyed it.
It's good.
It just I had it because
first one's so good.
Yeah, because I had watched the first one so recently. It was like, this wasn't as good as the first one. It was good.
Yeah, I think this is for me. This is going to be like the third one. It's been quite a few years since I've seen the third one. I basically saw it the one time, and I remember bits and pieces of that one. I know Lucy was involved, the anti-villain league, yada yada yada. That's it. I remember. I have to go back to my review. I think I enjoyed it at the time. Thought it was fine. Thought it was good.
I don't remember ever giving a low score to any of these movies.
But a year from now, I'll probably forget this movie.
Right.
Yeah. So I did like at the end they and this was the fun part when Gru was being villainous. So the Cucaracha is back in jail. He's been reverted back. He doesn't have his gross cockroach abilities. And they're talking to each other through the phone and the glass. And then he's just egging him on about the
9th grade talent show.
The 9th grade talent show. And he reveals that, yes, I did steal your musical number.
I knew it.
Yes. And it's just fun. It's just so fun.
Yeah.
And then it leads into the prison talent show where they're we're going to do this right here and right now. Who's the best? And so they initially start off kind of trying to duel over the song. And then they end up just doing it so well together, almost in sync. And then we see all the people in the audience, and it's all the old villains from all the other shows.
Basically everything
movies.
that everyone that they've ever run into, basically they try to throw in at the end of this.
They're in there sitting there cheering and having a good time. And it's like,
Dr. Nefario in there right before. So I was like, oh, good. They did give.
Dr. Nefario's not in jail.
No, he's not in jail, but he's in the movie.
Back at the,
And he has like literally 2 lines. But it's like, good. What's his name?
Russell Brand.
Yeah. Good old Russell Brand. You got back. Good job.
Well, did they? We should have looked at the credits to see if maybe they replaced him. Like, we can't do you anymore.
That would be so sad. Revolt.
Yeah. So, okay. Any other thoughts on this movie?
I think in all, like I said, there were key parts that I felt in the editing and in the bringing it together were missing. Once again, for the parts that they could not tie up in a bow, they should have just cut the things that opened it up to it and figured that out. And also better music. Patrick Doyle was the one who did the score, and I love Patrick Doyle. And this is what hurt my heart to be able to say this.
He's just phoning it in.
I've loved him since he did the music for The Little Princess, and it's so good. He's done other things. He also did all the music for Cinderella, the live action, and that one also so good. I love the quote that I did a review on a couple different my favorite soundtracks, and my quote for him was, "The man knows how to ride a waltz," and it's true, he does. And it was just this one. I just felt like most of the time, a lot of the other movies that he's done, it's like you don't really notice the score, but this one I noticed the score in a bad way, and the fact that it's like this needs to be more. What are you doing? So that was sad for me. Patrick, if you're listening, I still love you. I still love.
How did you come down this rabbit hole?
I mean, you're not, obviously, but
if you are, hey,
I absolutely listen to Little Princess. Anytime it comes on, I'm like, yes, it's amazing, and Cinderella. So you have couple of my favorite things. Anyway, so I forgive you. Yeah, overall, I think I give this movie, I'm going to say 3 stars.
Okay.
I was borderline 3.5, but I think coming out of the theater, I've been a little bit more up, and then later on it kind of settles.
Yeah.
And so I think I'm just going to stick it at 3.
Okay. Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm high on a movie, and then as I have time to let it settle and think about it a little bit more, it usually comes down about half a star, unless it's just phenomenal out of the gate. But yeah, when they're in these 3-star range, yeah. So I'm teetering between 2.5, 3 stars. I'm going to give it 2.5 stars.
Okay.
2.75, just to bump it on the positive side.
Okay.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's a fun time. I never need to see this movie again. There's nothing that captivates me as, a character with Gru or the family, any of them. I mean, what were their motivations? I feel like, I've watched too many of these booktubers on YouTube where they teach you how to write a story and write compelling characters, and and then they analyze different movie characters and whatnot. And they, there's this one girl, I don't remember, is it Emma? I don't know. I don't know her name, unfortunately. But ever since I've kind of watched her videos, I'm always thinking if I were to write a story or a movie or script, whatever, I feel like I'd want to break down every single character.
Oh, I would.
So that way, what is their main purpose? Driving, driving motion.
What is
desire? What are their weaknesses? And how does that get resolved? What do they learn? Where's their lowest point? And you don't have room for every single character to go through something like that.
But you as the author should know what those things are. Could write an entire novel on that person as the main character, but is going to be a supporting character in this other storyline.
With Brittany.
Brittany.
AKA, was it Edith?
Yeah.
I always mix them up.
No, Edith. It's the lower. Edith is
Agnes,
in the middle. Agnes.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, why introduce that conflict where it's not resolved in any way, shape, or form? So
Not
that's just
at all.
that's an example of
yes.
just what was the point of this? So yeah, 2.75. I normally don't do the half of a half, but a quarter star. But that's what we're gonna do today. So I feel happy about it.
Nice.
My kids will love it. Okay, so let's make our predictions. Now, at time of recording, Inside Out 2 has officially crossed $1 billion.
My word.
We thought, it's going to do super well. Definitely going to do that 700 million. I don't know if we went as high as saying 800 million, but a billion we were talking about, like, could it do it? And we were like, yeah, it possibly could. But it did within a crazy amount of days.
Yes, within a very short period of time. That's amazing.
So will this movie do $1 billion?
Why not?
Yes, it will. I mean, I think we saw what Kung Fu Panda did in spring break time with a kind of a super mediocre movie, but it's an established franchise, did 500 million plus.
Yeah.
Inside Out 2, phenomenal movie. I've seen so many like teenagers and families. Like, it's not just like little kids seeing this movie. It's, hey, let's take the whole family, like older kids.
Right.
And they're loving it, and so that has like a very wide appeal, big draw. This
has a wide appeal.
Also has a wide appeal. And I think a lot of the teenagers that grew up with the original are still enjoying. Yeah. And still enjoying it. We'll have a good time with the family. So for sure, this one's going to, and again, consumer sentiment is movies are good right now. Let's go see another one.
Yes.
Because of Inside Out,
summer music, paved the
way.
Summer movies are good right now. Let's go.
Paved the way for, I think, Despicable Me to do well. I think Despicable Me would have done well on its own, but I think this is a bump because people
you're right.
We're more willing to go to theaters now. I mean, there's been such a disappointment with theaters that you're just like, nope, not going to do it. So yeah, billion for sure. Easy billion for Illumination. Good for you.
Good for you. Good for you, Chris Meledandri. Okay, so we actually had one voicemail that we were not able to put in
because Morgan is terrible. I saw this and I said, you need to forward this right away. Again, when you have those thoughts, follow through on the thoughts, guys. And I don't know what happened, got distracted, and then it got lost in the inbox. So let's listen to this.
Let's do it.
This was supposed to be on 300. Now it's here on 302.
Hello, my friends of the Rotoscopers podcast. My name is Agustin, and I am talking to you from Quito, Ecuador. I have been a big fan and a frequent listener of this show for a long time because even if I am not an artistic person, I am a big fan of all animation stuff. So, I have been listening to this podcast for at least 10 years or so. To be sincere, I don't even remember how I got to know you, but I still thank the universe that put me in your way. Thanks to you guys, I have been able to dive deeper into all my favorite animated movies and shows through the years. Years ago, I still remember when you had your other host, Mason. Quite sad he's not anymore a regular, but I understand that times have changed and real life gets in the way of doing the show. That is why I want to thank you girls for still making this show, even with all the changes in your lives. I still visit your old podcast episodes every now and then, just to remember the classic movies or to reconnect with the stories you tell. I have learned so much about the movies, the studios, the cast and crew of the movies I like, and all that stuff. The fact that you have managed to save and have all your hundreds of podcast episodes still available, it is something that I really appreciate. It is a great treasure vault with all sorts of information about animation. I would like to use this message to congratulate you girls for your 300th Rotoscopers podcast episode. This is such a big milestone that few other podcasts can get. It speaks a lot about your enthusiasm and hard work to provide us listeners with information and entertainment. Nowadays, I use the Rotoscopers podcast as a source of info, recommendations, and plain fun to learn about new movies I want to watch or past gems to revisit. A couple of days ago, I went to the cinema to watch Inside Out 2, and as soon as I left, I listened to your episode. That is something that I have done several times through the years. In conclusion, long life to the Rotoscopers podcast. And thanks once again for being a part of my life for like 10 plus years. I am a big fan and I will keep being a fan as long as you keep posting new content. Thanks a lot for brightening my day every time you post a new show. See you next time. Bye bye.
Augustine from Quito, Ecuador. My word. I'm positive this is the first time you've ever sent us a voicemail. So thank you for, letting us know that you're there. Like I just telling my friend today, I just love the internet.
Yes.
Like the fact that Morgan and I, we're literally sitting in my car right now, just chatting away. And Augustine from Quito, Ecuador is listening to us. Like, that's just an amazing thing.
That voicemail touched my heart so much. It was so sincere, and it's just shocking. You don't realize the reach that you have.
Yeah.
You think, oh, well, obviously it's out to the World Wide Web.
Right.
But, ew, you still call it the web? How old are you?
You boomer.
You've seen the movie, you know. And yet, and you think, okay, well, it is what it is. And you put the episode out there, and is anyone listening? I don't know. You get emails from here and time to time, and people respond and send you direct messages, but then, yeah, people send you messages, and then it just really makes it real. And I really think the voicemails make it real. So, Augustine, thank you so much. Like when you said I've been listening to 10 plus years, my jaw just dropped because that's amazing, and I love it so much. And I love that you go back and listen to the old episodes. I kick myself. I wish we would have had better audio because they're such good episodes.
Right. Well.
But saying it's a huge testament, that you hit 300 episodes. We were talking in the episode. We said, the old 7 rule, podcasting. We actually looked it up, and in modern day, 2024, the new number of episodes that a podcast has actually fallen to 3.
That's crazy.
Which you think, there's technology has made it so much easier to podcast. You should be able to do more, but inversely, it's made it harder because you don't have to put in the work.
Right. Yeah, I was thinking about that. I'm like, okay, when you had to figure out how to actually do it, then it weeded out a lot of the people who were just who wouldn't have gotten past 3 episodes.
Right.
And so you at least got to the people who were, willing to do 7.
Yeah.
And I just, man, it was, it's one of those things that you just like, wow, I'm still really grateful we do this. It's fun.
Yes.
We also got a nice little review on the podcast. So you can actually go on Apple iTunes and leave reviews.
We love it when you do.
Yes.
Yes.
So this next one.
We can pull them from all countries. So we're not just reading the ones from the U.S. This one's from Poland.
Yes. And this was Sizlek Jacob from Poland. Yes. Morgan, how about you read it?
Says, I was looking for a podcast related to animation, and this was the one that caught my eye. Oh, our album art is still doing the trick. When I started listening to it, I was waiting for some woke remark so I could close it down and move on. But it never came. The hosts are all about meritocracy and excellence. They love animation as a medium to tell unique stories, not as a vehicle to send a message to modern audiences. They despise modern Disney and others who follow them and what it's become. They know history and legends of this craft. This is such a great podcast if you're a true enthusiast of animation. Well done, ladies. Thank you so much. I love that. I mean, the problem nowadays is that everything's political.
Right.
And when you go specifically for a show or, a podcast about entertainment, right? You're doing it as an escape or like as a sports podcast, right? Like you watch sports, you watch entertainment, you watch movies to escape the real world.
Right.
And the real world, politics has infused itself into everything, especially because of the 24/7 news cycle and the internet makes it so it's always in front of you.
Right.
And politics are very polarizing. Like people kind of, it's basically like, how are you going to rule the world? How are you going to run the world? And so people get very defensive about that. And so anyways, I go to that to say, like, I really try my best not to make the podcast political, because I know when I listen to podcasts, I don't appreciate when it's just that, right? But it's hard. It's become harder because the movies and the studios, which we cover, have allowed that to happen.
Well, yeah, and I'm also a believer that a character, if written well, will also have its own political leanings if you actually dig into it. And that is fine, as long as you are noticing that, every political leaning has some kind of issue. And if you're not pulling out those things and kind of using it as a way to just not just show a good thing, but also a bad thing.
Yeah.
If like showing that balance in there, I think it really just becomes more didactic and it becomes, the frying pan.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't like it. And it's just lazy. It gets lazy and I don't like lazy. So I guess that's where I am with that. But it also is, it's nice when people, even if I go to a movie and somebody has a character that has a very specific way of thinking, as long as it's like there's somebody who's not thinking that, or at least like thinking, well, maybe how about this? Showing somewhat of a counterbalance to it. I can appreciate those kind of things too. So it's just when it's all
one-sided and so obvious and pushing it down your throat.
And this is coming from somebody who's like, for example, I'm a Christian and therefore I am all for a Christian message, but I'm just going to say it. Most Christian movies are kind of really bad.
Yeah.
And I don't enjoy watching most of them. And I'm for this message. So it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, no, stop. Like, really, just stop.
Yeah. WDW Pro on YouTube, he has said this a few times and I really appreciate it. He's like, you need the liberal mindset and the conservative mindset.
You do.
The conservatives are the one who are holding on to the good things of the past and making it so you don't forget those and you remember those and you cherish those things, and because that's what's made civilization or parts of those that ideology.
That's what kept us alive.
Yes, exactly. And then you need liberal mindset to help push new boundaries, to explore new things, and it's the balance of the two. It's not the extreme of one or the other,
right? That
allows you to, have a good medium and balance, and that's where the give and take comes in, and then you end up being better in the end. So, anyways, that's a little philosophical on our our Despicable Me 4 episode, but I really appreciate that voice or that review, and that you find our, that. We like meritocracy. We like excellence. I don't think there's anything political about saying, hey, if you're the best of the best, you should get the job.
You should be celebrated.
You should make a movie. You should, be celebrated. And likewise, excellence needs to be called out and recognized. And that's why we do lots of different studios. And it's just, Disney's in a bad spot right now, and it needs to be called out because we love them so much.
I know.
Okay, we love you. That's why we have to call out what we see. So yeah, good time.
It's like when your friend is out there and just like, hey, I only make this amount of money, but I'm going to go shopping every single day this week. And it's like, okay, do I just let you go and be like, have fun with that? Or do I be like, honey, you need to not do this because you're going to put yourself in problems.
Let me introduce you to Uncle Dave. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's like, how good of a friend are you?
Right.
If you're going to just let somebody sell themselves down the river.
Especially when you've seen how good someone can be.
Exactly.
Like so much talent, best of the best. In this interview that I do with Darrell Larson, he talks about it in there, like, yeah, you're doing an animation history book. I mean, how can you not talk about Disney? But at the same time, you don't want to only focus on Disney. There's so much more that blossomed out of that and that was inspired by it. Even Disney was inspired by stuff. And there's other studios that you have no idea just because they're not as big. Anyways, I'm excited for this interview.
It's a good one.
He was my history of animation teacher.
Which is so cute.
And you're like, wait, Morgan, you're not an animator. I'm not. But BYU, the school that I went to for college, has a very prestigious animation program. And one of the requirements is you take a history of animation class. And me being an animation addict, I said, I must take this class.
Because you have electives.
Yes,
and that's what you do.
Yes, and so I did. And it was great. And, anyways, I'm not going to spoil it. I'm going to give my little blurb at the beginning of the episode when we get there.
But that's
stay tuned.
The nostalgia on that episode is brimming. I like it.
Yeah. So, all right, there is our episode. Thank you for the voicemail. Thank you for the review. we like both of those things. So if
All
you
the
would like
things.
to send us a voicemail, go to rotoscopers.com/voicemails or give us a call 406-646-6575, or you can do what Augustine did. And he just recorded the message and emailed it to us at contact@rotoscopers.com. That works too. That is great. And I promise I'll forward it to the proper channel so we can get it in the right episodes. Hey, but he got his own dedicated episode.
Yeah,
Well, he had to share with the minions.
Yeah.
But hey.
But also, we, as mentioned before, we are doing a Sherman Brothers episode. So we're looking for voicemails on that.
Yeah, we still have lots of time for that one.
What is your favorite Sherman Brothers song?
So many.
So many to choose from.
All right. That's enough of this. Not enough. I mean, this could go on and on, but that's all we have for this car episode of the Rotoscopers, the Animation Addicts Podcast. Until next time,
we are the Rotoscopers.
I messed that up. Oh, well.
I was watching you just to make sure that we were like,
I know, and I was like, oh, well.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so I'm testing. And how are you?
I'm testing. Hello.
Hey, we're going.
Sounds great to me.
We are good to go.
Just make sure to check up on it every once in a while.
Exactly.
Are you still recording?
You still there?
Ah.
Is that stamina mode still stamina? All right, let's just put this in a place where I can actually see it. All right, should be good. Well, how are you?
Great. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Morgan and I are sitting in my car because that's what we do right after one of these screenings. And
I love our car chats. These are the best. So we go to a screening, and if our schedules allow, then we hang out in the car with our microphones and we chat about the movie. So this is as fresh as it can be.
Yes, I don't think we could, unless we were actually in the theater and...
Oh, we wanted to do it there. Oh, wow. That's a new one.
We could have done that.
The cleaning crew would be like, what? This is not...
Get him out of here. Oh, gosh. Yeah, the last side, this was definitely going to go into the blooper section, but so last time I have a couple different microphones, some cords, and like a small little rig that I bring to do these car chats. And last time I brought it and I accidentally had a bottle of something in my bag and it like exploded and it got everywhere. And so I was like, how about let's not do anything tonight on this thing and we'll just drive home.
Let's let it air out.
So now the bag and the casing for my machine all smell like grape. So that's fun.
Could be worse.
It could, yes. I was like, oh, well, and it's like, okay, so what I was drinking was just like a flavor additive to like my water. Yeah. And so that's why that was like that. So.
Shucks. Well, anyway. Was it sticky?
Yes, it was. And then I had to go into the bathroom and I had to like stuff it full of like of the paper towels. And I thought it was just really weird because, well, I know that there were several people who looked at me weird because I'm in the bathroom of the movie theater with like giant microphones. And it looks like I'm one of those people that's
doing a heist.
Yes. I'm either doing a heist or I'm trying to like record something illegal or something. And I'm like, I swear.
I'm going to get this on the internet. The high seas will get this movie before anyone else.
I swear I'm not going to do that. But, you know, there were definitely people that were looking at me weird side-eyed, like, what has she got over there?
Happens.
So, yeah, there you go.
All right. So we just got out of Despicable Me 4.
Hold on. Let me pull down the record levels because we just peaked a little bit.
As I tend to do.
All right, we'll go down there. Well, I wasn't sure where we would be, so there we go. This should be
Once
fine
you get
now.
Your groove, you're like, oh, okay, this is the spot.
Yeah, there we go. We're good.
They know that, these rich ladies who have the money, but for some reason opt for the fillers instead of the facelift.
Yeah.
And so the cheeks are way out of here. You got these like Skeletor proportions. They've overfilled the jaw, so it's no longer feminine, but it's very masculine and like large proportionately.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I'm very like anti-filler, obviously, right now. Obviously, but I'm very anti-filler just because, you get a little bit and then it just it can morph into something that you don't even know, and then it distorts people's faces, whether you're a normal person or a celebrity.
Yeah.
Or people get filler and then they do MRI scans of your face 12 to 15 years later, and even though they say, oh, it dissolves, it totally dissolves. No, it doesn't. It's still in your tissues, so that's frightening. Anyway, so if you look up,
side note,
this is clearly a tangent in the
this is a tangent.
bloopers.
This is definitely where we're going to say, hey, our warning here, in case nobody else warns you. My cousin is a dermatologist, and he was just like, yeah, we don't know where it goes. Like, they don't know.
Yes.
Like, you put it in there and it
gets stuck in your lymph nodes, and your lymph nodes are like flushing toxins out of your body. So then if your lymphs get stagnant, everything, it gets stuck in your, don't do it, guys. Just if you, or girls specifically.
Or guys, like, this is all
mostly
people.
Ladies, don't fall for it. Just
And Zac
really
Efron.
don't just, Zach. Yeah, I mean, just save your money for the inevitable day, if you got to, just get the facelift from the very qualified surgeon. Okay. Anyways, let's go back.
You've been listening to the Animation Addicts Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe and be sure to leave us a 5-star review. We're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you want to help spread the word, be sure to share the podcast with your friends on social media. Just don't forget to tag us at Rotoscopers on Instagram and use the hashtag Animation Addicts. For all the links and full show notes for this episode, go to rotoscopers.com/podcast. Now, if you still can't get enough for your animation fix, be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube and visit rotoscopers.com for more animation news, reviews, and interviews. Thanks for listening.